Okay, hi. Welcome back to Aunt Kitty 92's Art Space. I am the face behind her, and I'm Jess. Hi. I came on here because it's been a while since I did any type of videos. It's been a while since I did any type of content, mainly because of mental health, mainly because of other medical issues that have propped up between me and my kiddos. And I wanted to sit down and chit chat today. By the way, this is a work in progress piece that I am finally getting back into. This was the last piece that I was working on before I just cut everything, which I needed. I needed a break. For one, I started having vision issues again, like more visual issues than what I already go through right now. And if you haven't seen my journey, you can check it out. Actually, I got scrap that. I'm trying to make a new journey video because kicker and spoiler alert, I was misdiagnosed for 12 years. That's what gets me. 12 long, agonizing years. But still blind. A little bit worse than what I was, but I digress. And you're probably thinking, how can someone be misdiagnosed for 12 years? Well, I had shitty specialists. I had shitty doctors. No pun intended. And I don't even know where to begin on that because this is wild to me. So, and I'm still processing it, by the way. But I'm also glad that I have legitimate proof of the misdiagnosis. I have legitimate answers now, which is good, relieving, crazy. So anyway, I'm just going to whole start. This could be literally my journey with vision loss and where I am at now. So anyways, goddess is wild. Okay, so I was born with strabismus with misaligned eyes and lazy eye, cross-eyed. Most people know them by cross-eyed. And my parents didn't really think too much of it. The doctors told them to take me to an eye doctor. They did. Eye doctor gave me a patch and told my parents what to do, and voila. Patching wasn't working. So around 4 years old, close to 4 years old, they noticed that I kept bumping into things. I was a little bit more clumsier than a typical toddler. And so the pediatrician told them to take me back. I go back to this ophthalmologist who was like, yeah, she's having trouble seeing. So they decided to give me some glasses because I had lazy eye and I had an astigmatism at the time. And they didn't really think much of it. They didn't really do an in-depth look of everything, although you'll see they should have. So anyway, I don't know why I keep saying anyway a lot. I'm sorry. I ramble when I'm trying to explain stuff. And I say a lot. Bear with me. So I started having real bad headaches in my early elementary school years, around 4 to 9 years old. And teachers would constantly get frustrated because I needed to be up close and personal with the whiteboard, like I knew its name. And I often would trip over things. It was horrible. So, even with glasses, by the way, even with glasses. So, they was like, you need to do something. Something's not right. So, they take me back to the eye doctor and discover that my optic nerve pressures were extremely elevated. And they needed to go in and immediately, and I was probably about 9 years old around this time. And they needed to go in and they did an optic nerve fixation, which is where they cut a little slit in the sheath. And and to relieve the pressure. Well, they also decided, hey, while we're in there, let's fix her strabismus. That recovery was brutal for me. It was very hard for me to recover from that because I had to get it done in both of my eyes. So, yeah, and I was bullied a lot. So, get that over with, and I'm recovering, and they're like, everything seems all swell and fine. Not really. I started having more and more vision issues, but they dismissed it usually and told me that, like, it'll work itself out. Should have seen, like, I have a lot of family history with blindness, with eye issues, so I don't get why they just dismissed everything, but I also didn't have the best of where we was. So my parents split and moved in with Dad to a state that had very little health care. And we started noticing I had issues. I was like, okay, we need to come back. It's to the eye doctor. So the eye doctor was like, okay, she is having issues. Like, she's lost some more visual acuity. She's lost some more steps. So we're going to look and see what's going on. Well, they didn't find anything. They couldn't find anything. They didn't understand it. They were really confused, all that stuff. Fast forward to when I was 16, 17, I had my puberty late. I went through all that late in life. I was very delayed on a lot of things like that. And, which no one seemed to find that was a red flag, but apparently it was. So, I had tried to get my learners, because as all 16-year-olds do, we want our learners, we want driving license. And we thought, my dad really pushed for me to get my license and try to get independent on my own. But I failed dramatically twice. Like, I couldn't even do the test because I kept failing the eye exam. And by the third time, she's like, maybe driving's not for you, sweetheart. No. Maybe it's not a good fit. So, of course, I didn't set well with my parents or anything like that. So, just let it be. It is what it is. So, around 18, 19, when I realized I really was struggling and really couldn't do anything, my boyfriend and his mom at the time, we found a specialist, an optometrist, the first specialist, anyway, mind you, normal optometry, literally told me it was all in my head, that this was not caused by anything, that it was in my head, which was not true. Then we found two other actual, like, ophthalmologists in that state who was like, did some genetic workup on me and discovered I had a gene called OTX type 2, which can be linked to RP. So they just assumed that it was RP, but they didn't have enough medical knowledge at the time to figure out that was totally not the case. So I went with that. I was like, well, I did have progressive vision loss. It did get worse. Like, I do have the classic symptoms of it, and except for my retina's not showing that, which is where I'm going to get into that story. So, fast forward along, after 4 kids, 3 of them see ophthalmologists. They do have eye issues as well. And 1 has pituitary issues. I have pituitary issues. Like, I have major hormonal imbalances due to PCOS, and I am extremely short. I'm 4'7", by the way. Yes, you're probably taller than me, especially because I'm 32 and 4'7". Yay me. Short kid. Short person. Woo. I'm meaner than most people, though, I promise. So, we take my oldest to his ophthalmologist, a new ophthalmologist, because they had referred him to a different one. And before I get into this, I don't live in the state that I used to live in. We are in North Carolina now. So, woohoo. Better healthcare here. So, anyway, I take him to his ophthalmologist. And, he was frightened. He was scared. I can tell he was scared. I've been there. So I was like, hey, let me just be a puppet right now. Just so you can, calm down and see that it's not that scary. Yeah, it looks scary. It's crazy. But I promise you it's not that scary. So she's like, okay, cool. Yeah, let's do that. Let's get him whatever works to get him comfortable. Let's do it. So we get in there, and she's sitting there doing that, and she goes, something don't seem right to me. You said you had RP? I said, yes. That's what 2 other ophthalmologists had told me, and I have a gene that can link to it. And she's like, I would double check on that. Just to double check on that. And that got me thinking so hard. And I don't know why I didn't but again, I wasn't going to shove away at the time. I didn't question my specialties. So I let it go for a little bit. And then I got to thinking, I was like, you know what? Maybe, because we need indefinite proof. So I am on Social Security Board, or SSA, and I had a medical review come up. So I was like, okay. So I go to primary care, and my primary care refers me to now it's been 12 years since I seen an ophthalmologist because denial, grief, all the things. Plus, I have 4 medically complex kids. There's not a whole lot of time for me. So we go, and she gets me a stat referral for an ophthalmologist here, and godsend. This person did not make me feel judged, did not make me feel crazy. Absolutely wasn't shocked that the absurdity of the other specialists for not looking deeper and for not doing the proper testing and for a lack of knowledge of the conditions. So, turns out I was recently and have had this condition, and he told me it was optic nerve hypoplasia. It's basically a congenital disorder where your optic nerves were not fully developed in the wound, and that I would need to have an MRI since I have the pituitary issues and the hormone issues, because this could be something along the lines of septo-optic dysplasia, and basically where your septate, or in the middle of the midline in your brain, is missing, and it can lead to in underdeveloped optic nerves. It can lead to pituitary hormone issues and pituitary gland issues. So checking on that now. But I do have optic nerve hypoplasia. My optic nerves were extremely small, and I love this new ophthalmologist. I'm keeping him in my life because he was like, I am so sorry, and it's just wild to me that you went this long without actual real answers because you were told answers and believed them. It matters to do the testing. They never did proper, good enough testing, and this could have been easily noticeable if they knew what they were doing. But he was like, no, you have optic nerve hypoplasia. There is no cure. There is no management for it as of yet. But yeah, you're blind. So he asked me what I need from him, which, he's going to be following me. But it's just so crazy to me that I actually had one thing when they were telling me another. And that's frustrating. That's the world of healthcare we live in today. But that's a whole nother tangent and a whole nother story. So yeah, I don't know what to do with that. I don't know. I'm glad I got answers. I'm glad I know now. And looking back, it totally makes sense. because they see a lot of GHD kiddos that can have this, and optic nerve hypoplasia can be linked to that. And I have a genetic form. You know, my mom had optic nerve issues, but we didn't know what type or what of it. And yeah, so it was passed down to me. And now we're looking into 2 out of my 4 kiddos also are showing like signs of it, and we're trying to like see if they have it or not. My oldest was a 22-weeker. He had retinopathy prematurity, but he also has eye issues on top of that. He grew out of that. It never went past stage 3 or stage 2. And his left eye doesn't really want to turn on and work. So they're thinking that this could be also the reason why. My youngest, who has growth hormone deficiency, he's getting an MRI done because he's not really gaining like height or weight even with hormone replacement therapy. So they're going to be looking at that. He did get a referral to ophthalmology just in case because of me. But it's generally not like genetic, but it can be genetic. But yeah, and that's wild to me. So moving on. But yeah, this is my work in progress that I am going to be working on. If you like this story, cool. Give me a like, a follow, something. Tell me your stories. If you also have optic nerve hypoplasia, tell me your diagnosis story. Did you get diagnosed from birth, or were you actually diagnosed as an adult? Did it get misdiagnosed and thrown out the window? I want to know. But it sucks. But we can't change it. It is what it is, so we gotta accept it and move on. I still love art. I can still somewhat. I've had to readjust since losing more of my visual acuity and more of my visual field. So I'm working on figuring out how to make this work. Until then, hopefully you'll see me start posting content more. Until then, I gotta kind of readapt my skills and go from what I've lost, because I started having eye aches again and visual disturbances and things of that nature. So now I'm having to readapt again. And generally, optic nerve hypoplasia is not like progressive. Like you either have what you have, or at least that's what I've been told. Not sure. I'm not a medical professional at all, so I don't know. But yeah, it's wild to me. So thank you to the eye doctor who actually gave me advice and gave me and like his ophthalmologist is top notch. We'll keep her in his line of care, because without us even trying, we would have never known my misdiagnosis for 12 years. 12 years again. Could have had so much more insight. But yeah. All right. Enjoy. Have fun.